Check, check, mic check. All right, we are live. We are live. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you tuning in. What a time. What a time period we're in. A lot of absolute craziness going on in the world. Who would have thought just a few months ago we had all these tariffs coming out? Market is crashing. It's the end of the world. Oh my gosh. The market's going to be down for multiple years. And yet here we are, ripping to new all-time highs. Not GameStop, which we'll get into in a few minutes, but you look at Bitcoin, you look at the S&P, and when in doubt, zoom out. That's what they say with long-term investing. And look at this dip here. It literally just looks like a blip on the radar when you zoom out. Just like the pandemic in hindsight, just like this 2022 period, the further you zoom out. Moral of the story, always buy the dip. Great companies always come out the other side through difficult times. Granted, this was a quick dip. There's always possibility of recession. It boils down to the fact that more money is going to be created. And I think the market sees this, and I think this is why the stock market's at all-time highs. This is why Bitcoin's at all-time highs right now, because the money has to flow somewhere. You look at the M2 money supply, it just continues to go up. And do you really honestly see that trend reversing? Even when there's a new president in 2028, you think that's going to change? There's new people in the House. There's new people in Congress. It doesn't matter who's in what political position. The United States of America always prints money. So what I think we're seeing in real time is really a melt up in the simplest form, right? The simplest way to say it is a melt up. Of course, there's going to be ups and downs, right? Like Bitcoin had a pretty sharp decline from January to April, but here we are. It's much higher. Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to get into Staplegate and some of the different stuff that's been going on with GameStop. And with Staplegate, it's crazy. 250,000. I think they made the most of a relatively negative situation. Obviously there's a lot of negative press, negative attention surrounding the whole situation with Staplegate, and everyone thought, it's just classic GameStop messing things up, right? That's what the haters said, at least. But they're like, all right, you know what? We're going to come out and admit we were wrong. We made a mistake, but let's make good out of it, right? Let's do a charity auction. So if you look at the original listing, and it's crazy, it went up to 250,000. So Ryan Cohen had said if it goes to 100,000, I'll include my underwear. So, and if you look at the questions on it, there was a question, and one of the questions was like, will Ryan Cohen's underwear be included? And the answer was yes. Like, they actually answered the question on eBay. I can't find it here, but they answered yes. And then he said if it was 1 million, which unfortunately didn't get to it, he said if it was 1 million, he would fly out, hand deliver it to them, and take them to McDonald's. So congratulations to the lucky winner. A lot of people are speculating Roaring Kitty. I've seen some other ideas thrown around out there, but who knows, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's good. There was some good that came out of a relatively negative situation for the company. Just make sure my volume's on here. Okay, yeah, we're good. Get the side cam on. We can check the chat if need be, but big gap, muted mic. Oh, are we good now? Side cam on. Check the chat. Yeah, I think we're good. I think maybe starting out it was bugging, but thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Just settling back in. Summer's a busy time. It's really a busy time. And, I got to tweet this out. It reminds me. But Staplegate has been completed. The auction has been completed. And I was trying to think of like another example or find another example kind of similar to this where a brand did something similar. The best example I kind of found was Crocs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with their story. So, for a long time, their stock was in the toilet. We got to reset the chart view. What's going on? So really did nothing for years and years and years. And after the pandemic, it absolutely ripped, right? And then it's kind of stagnated. I'm not saying go out and put money in it. I'm not following their financials recently, but what kind of took place was they were essentially able to revive their brand because during the pandemic, they kind of marketed it as like the perfect shoes for working at home, and people would make memes and clown on them basically that they're just silly shoes, right? Or silly sandals, whatever you want to look at it as. But instead of like shying away from that, they kind of leaned into it and made it part of their brand. Like, yeah, we're unique. Yeah, this is we're in sport mode, right? They basically like leaned into the memes essentially and kind of use that to rebuild their brand. So I feel like there's some parallels here in terms of what GameStop did with the Staplegate situation, where they're like, okay, well, everyone's talking about this. Why don't we come out and say, hey, we made a mistake, and let's do good by it. Let's make this charity an auction for charity. So I think they handled it pretty well, and I feel like as they continue to have an evolving company and really just focus on doing things differently, just little things like that I like to see. It's not game changing, but even when you look at the most recent posts, I feel like they're much more high quality, right? In the sense that like not high quality, but on brand, right? More so aligned with the brand instead of like, check out our new products on our website. Like nobody cares about that, right? No one cares about seeing that in their Twitter feed. But stuff like this, clean up on the aisle nostalgia, and you look at their more recent posts, like they're more clever. And I feel like that's how that's a modern way to market a brand, is to be in touch with meme culture and just online culture in general, right? And I feel like the mic's a little off today, but we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. And the Staplegate was completed. Sneak peek. Book the Bunny they retweeted. Boy, do I have a story for you. That's funny because the most liked tweet of all time. It's crazy, or most viewed. 1.2 billion tweets. This random person, Moondragon, just share a piece of lore about yourself. And this is from April, and it just keeps getting quote retweeted, and it's literally months later. Like, and I feel like more so the past few weeks. Oh, who put this back in my feed? 4.4 million views. So like, this is relatively still relevant. Like, it's crazy, and it's been months since it was posted. But it's like the biggest tweet. But GameStop CEOs at the ante. Infamous Switch 2 stapler is now for auction. Proceeds benefit the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So power packs are back. So there's some marketing stuff, right? And this is relative to the product. So you got to mix that in a little bit, but you can't overdo it. And I really like the quote retweeting and kind of engaging in things, right? So trade for a reptile like a lizard. Much for GameStop, but it's funny that people complain the trade values are wrong. So tried to send an Xbox digital console. We got on Xbox more than 2 years ago for $199. The best offers I got was either $50 to $80 or this super random offer of a lizard. So I checked GameStop website, and it says $176 for the console. And yeah, I went and got $176. I paid $199 for it more than 2 years ago. And it's true. I think this is a great story right here, and probably why they posted it, because if people GameStop doesn't really give you anything, but it's like, what do you expect for a used console or a used game? So it does always kind of crack me up. But it's one of those, it's like a classic meme, so they're kind of leaning into it, right? That's how I see it, at least. You got to just kind of got to work with what the market gives you in a sense. Not like the stock market, just like the social media market, if you want to call it that. But kind of actually missed this one, the power packs. So if you say 8+ guarantee plus 2 TCG booster packs, so it's a GameStop exclusive. I don't know if I would personally buy this, but definitely for someone who's a collector, might take a chance here, might just buy it and see. Maybe if I happen to see one day, I might go, you know what, let me buy it for once, just because it's GameStop. Why not, right? So that's something potentially, but I wanted to touch on this a little bit, and Crocs really was able to revive their brand. Again, I don't know if it's a good investment at this point or where they're at exactly, but really that period of time from 2020 to 2022. And during that period, I bought myself a pair of Crocs. I remember at that time I was working in Marshalls. Crocs came in, and I was like, these are selling like hotcakes. They're selling all left and right, and I want a pair. They're nice for when I just need to step out of the house real quick, whether it's like take out the garbage or just water my plants, throw them on real quick, right? So just a little interesting story there, and I think kind of relatively in line with what happened with GameStop and Staplegate. Not exactly the same case, but just a lesson of we got to take what happened and just roll with the punches sort of thing. So it'd be interesting to see, and if we get any more creative marketing campaigns like this, this is kind of just an opportunity that arose, right? And obviously it was kind of infamous, but they made the most of it, right? And you get the certificate of authenticity signed by Ryan Cohen himself. And what we are going to get into in a little bit, I wanted to go through these posts, is where my head's at with GameStop. We got 2 interviews from Ryan Cohen in the same day. What was it, this past Wednesday? What was July? Yeah, so 2 days ago. So I'm sure you saw both of them already. He did one on CNBC and one on Fox. So one on CNBC, much more awkward. One on Fox, he indicated at the end, he has respect for Charles Payne. And Charles seems like an okay guy. I don't totally agree with everything he says necessarily, but and I don't know a whole ton about him, but it was a better conversation, I would say, a more quality interview. I think everyone can kind of agree than the CNBC. But then my head is like wondering, well, why go do interviews now? This guy never does. He even says it in the Charles Payne one. I never do like mainstream media interviews. So why would he choose to do them now? Usually, you go do interviews when you want to go public about something, you want to draw attention to something. So initially, I was thinking, I'm like, is it push to start arcade? That's kind of why he's trying to get his name out there, get GameStop's name out there for whatever push to start arcade winds up being. Obviously, we don't know at this point. It's just a blank profile picture, and they rebranded the GameStop NFT Twitter account, X account, whatever you want to call it, to be Push to Start Arcade. And then by the way, someone else took at GameStop NFT. So be careful. I almost guarantee whoever took that username is going to be like, it's GameStop. Check out the new meme coin we're launching, right? And it's going to be a load of garbage. So don't fall for that, right? Because they changed the name. At GameStop NFT, it's just some random now. So just keep that in mind. But I do wonder about this. But also part of me thinks like he was doing that kind of media tour, if you want to call it that. Not really. He just went on 2 interviews to kind of draw attention to this auction. But also the other side of it is, right, as I'm like debating this in my head, it's bouncing around in my skull, I'm like, I feel like you would do it for something more, right? Like they're going to be doing something more. This is like, why now? That is kind of like the golden question. And I'm starting to think it generally has something to do with like push to start arcade. But you guys can let me know if you think differently. Well, I'm trying to pull the chat up so we see if anyone's throwing anything in there. I don't know why this is not cooperating. Let's go. See, Mike. Does it sound off? I don't understand. Cooperating. Let's go. See, Mike. Oh, yeah, we do have a problem. Hold on one second. Thank you, guys. Check. Check. Hopefully it sounds better. Check. Check. Microphone 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Check. Check. Microphone 1 2 3 1 2 3 okay. 1 2 3. Now I'm just endlessly in a loop, but I think we're better. Definitely let me know again if there's any problems. But let me put this aside. I think test. Okay, now we should be good, I think. Test. Okay. All right, I'll really try not to hit the cord as much as possible because I'm not too sure what's going on. All right, I'll really try not to. My God, what's going on, Olga? Oh my gosh, I don't know. But, all right, I think we're good. I think we're okay right now. I'm going to try and keep an eye on that. Let me know, guys. Let me know if it's not good again. I think we're okay now. I'm just going to be more careful. But don't know exactly where it cut out. But I do wonder about the media tour. Why now? Why now do those 2 interviews? Okay, thank you. Why do 2 interviews out of nowhere? That's kind of my question, I guess. And I feel like it's partly had to do with Staplegate, but then also the push to start arcade. They want to draw attention to that. So we'll have to see, right? It's kind of always how it goes with GameStop, as in like you just don't know until they actually come out with something. And then I kind of got excited, honestly, when Ryan Cohen said Bitcoin at 119,000. He tweeted about it on a Sunday, and that was the price at that time. And I thought to myself, well, that's what Michael Saylor usually does before a Bitcoin buy. So maybe we're going to get a filing this week saying they bought more Bitcoin. But then in the interview with Charles Payne, he said he said the specific amount of Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken, but basically indicated they didn't buy anymore. And to be honest, I'm honestly a little bit disappointed. Dare I say that? It's not the end of the world. I believe in Bitcoin a lot, so it's easy. That's why I guess it's easy for me to say disappointed, whereas like other people are like, well, it's at an all-time high. Why would you buy it now? But to me, it's just, it all comes down to the fact that the dollar is just being endlessly created, and this is only accelerating. So Bitcoin, there's a finite supply, and I really think the world literally needs Bitcoin. I genuinely believe that, and I think it's something that's playing out in real time. I don't think it replaces the U.S. dollar, but I think it becomes the reality of the price of goods just constantly goes up, and the average person just continues to recognize it and go, well, I need to maintain my purchasing power, but I don't want to invest my money or buy all the stuff I need now. I want to save it for the future, but I got to maintain my purchasing power. And I really feel like that's where Bitcoin comes in. Yes, it's volatile for the time being, and a lot of people think like, oh, I should buy XRP, Ethereum. I got to find the next big one, right? We're still so relatively early when it comes to Bitcoin. I genuinely believe that. We are relatively early. So I think it's great that GameStop accumulated Bitcoin. Just want to check on the mic again. All right, seems like we're good. Like, I think it's great that they got involved in Bitcoin. Oh, gotta get that out of here. However, what am I doing? Okay, let's get this out so I'm not confused. I just feel like they don't have enough, to be honest with you, because when it comes to Bitcoin, like, yes, it's at an all-time high. And I like this art, by the way, by Jay Dyer Art. Shout out to him. Pretty dope. I'll drop a like on it. But I just feel like when you understand fundamentally what it is, which Ryan Cohen does, right? He says in the interview how we are just endlessly creating money and they bought Bitcoin for that reason. But I just feel like you could have more, right? And not a whole lot more, because I see in the chat, KCR, thanks for being here. 500 million, not enough. I feel like when we're at a time period where money is just being created at a more and more accelerated rate, and also because the market's higher, they don't have these acquisition opportunities yet, right? Or they don't want to make a move yet. I feel like you could use some more of that cash to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. It doesn't have to be all of it. I'm not saying like go full Michael Saylor mode, dump all of it in, but I would have liked to see like at least another 500 million, maybe $1 billion deployed. Because now it's even higher, right? And it's, in my opinion, it's only going to continue to go higher. Yes, there'll be downward years, but I kind of feel like when you zoom out on Bitcoin, right, it tends to trade in cycles. It's kind of a bold prediction, but I feel like we're kind of moving away from that, because now where things are different, or I don't know why this isn't the all-time chart, where things are different, in my opinion, right? Because we know they bought somewhere in here. So they do have a good cost basis relative to where it's at, but they could have bought, like, they could have doubled down in this period, right? And then still have $8+ billion in cash. That's all I'm saying here. I'm not saying, like, they should have YOLO'd into it. And, you know, it's not the end of the world. It is what it is. There's still going to be other opportunities in the future for them to buy Bitcoin. But I feel like we're moving into a future where, because there's so much big money getting involved, right? So it's kind of gone through cycles, big up, kind of downwards, kind of stagnant for a couple of years, and then a big upward move, big bull cycle, kind of stagnant for a couple of years, kind of a bear cycle, I shouldn't say stagnant, but then back up. I feel like we're moving into a future where we're not going to see these cycles as heavy anymore, because there's so much more big money involved. If there's a general recession, yes, I think it'll still kind of move with the market. But I feel like because the endless increasing of M2 money supply, and I don't see any other way things shake out than the creation of money accelerating even more as time rolls on. I honestly think we're past the point of no return when it comes to the creation of money and the debt to GDP being over 100%, for example. So I feel like Bitcoin is going to have more and more value as time goes on, and it's not going to see like yes, anything's possible, right? I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't know anything for sure, but I just don't see like major dips happening like they did in the past, just because it's kind of like the bear period after a halving. I feel like it would be more so if there was like a recession scenario. And I get it, right? The idea of like GameStop wants to wait to utilize the capital for when they see a recession, when there's a great buying opportunity. But at the same time, I also feel like you can't sit on the sidelines forever and then just wait around. You can't stay sitting around waiting for a recession. Nobody knows when the next recession is going to be. It could be 2026, 27, 28, 29, 30. Nobody truly knows. So I feel like you got to continue to build into things and build into your positions. And then also, right, let's say if in theory they bought more Bitcoin, they could still then go ahead and turn around and do another convertible note offering. That's what Ryan Cohen also alluded to in the Charles Payne interview. He was saying, hey, who wouldn't borrow money at a 0% rate? It's foolish not to. And people say, oh, well, it's dilution. It's convertible at a premium. The only way you can convert is because the stock price went higher. So he kind of, to me, alluded to the fact that, or the idea that they're going to do another convertible note offering. So I feel like if you know you're going to be able to raise even more capital, unless they have something specific in mind, right, that maybe I'm not accounting for, I feel like you could have bought a little bit more Bitcoin. But also I want to be clear, I'm a mega Bitcoin bull. I absolutely love Bitcoin. I've been buying hodling, stacking Bitcoin for years now. So that's where like my bias comes in, to be honest. But I am glad they have some rather than none. So just kind of some of my thoughts right now. I'll see what you guys think in a second. But I'm not saying like, oh, it's the end of the world. This is a total blunder. But I honestly thought they were going to buy a little bit more before the next leg up or the next push to an all-time high for Bitcoin. Because even if it is still in cycles, I could see it going to like 250, maybe even 300K, right, over the next year or so. And then who knows, the next bear cycle, right, it could go all the way up. It could touch 290K at its peak. And then it cuts in half. That's if it cuts in half from 290, that's 145. That's still higher than where we are today. And also, I feel like when you understand Bitcoin and you believe in it for long term, it's not even the end of the world if you don't get the greatest cost basis, because you're holding it for a long period of time. And then also when you have, and in buying a little bit more Bitcoin, I feel like that gives the convertible notes buyers a little bit more confidence in buying the notes, because that's really the only way 0% notes are being offered, right? But again, these are just a bunch of different ideas bouncing around in my head as of late. So I'm not trying to say, oh my God, it's this, oh my God, it's that. But these are just some of my different things. And I will say also and admit, this is a little bit of recency bias because Bitcoin has been doing so well. So it's easy to be like, oh yeah, like I wish they bought more, or it should go up more, right? But that's kind of where my head's at right now. Not sure, but Bitcoin has 21 million supply. Bitcoin cash flows is 21 million. I wonder why one buy 121K when you could buy it at 400, 500. Olga, I think Bitcoin Cash, it was like a fork a while back. So basically, like, if you had Bitcoin, you also got Bitcoin Cash. And then at that time, it caused a drop because there was disagreement. But I still believe in Bitcoin the most. I just don't see Bitcoin Cash taking over, honestly. See, I hope they'll buy Ethereum and BCH. It's the only reason when they start going crazy for stock to go crazy. I appreciate you touching on it, especially to be putting yourself out there instead of only consuming content. Lots of respect. Thank you, KCR. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words, man. And listen, like everyone else, I'm out here just trying to figure it out, cover it in real time, because there's such harsh opinions on like both sides. Like, they have to buy more Bitcoin. They could take their time, right? It's like you can just analyze and try to observe and see it in real time, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And like what I kind of tweeted the other day. So I said, part of me is anxious for them to make a move, but the other part of me realizes it's better for them to take their time than rush into something that isn't a good investment. I do wish they more bought Bitcoin, but that's okay because I personally buy and hold Bitcoin. And that's not why I bought GameStop. I didn't buy GameStop because they're in Bitcoin. I was encouraged by it because I already hold Bitcoin. But if I want to own Bitcoin, I'll keep buying Bitcoin, because I also personally believe if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. Yes, you can buy Bitcoin ETF. You have exposure. Yes, you can buy MicroStrategy. You have exposure. You can buy GameStop. You have a little bit of exposure. But it's not truly your Bitcoin unless you have in a cold wallet. So that's how I think about it. So it just is what it is. That's kind of what I end with. But it's a Bitcoin back to 20K, Bitcoin Cash. Olga is definitely a big Bitcoin Cash fan. I honestly haven't read about it in a while, I will admit. So I'll have to look into it again. But I do also have to admit, I am kind of like a Michael Saylor. I am of the opinion there is no second best. I feel like it just really comes down to Bitcoin supply, the fact that it's infinitely divisible. You can easily send it anywhere in the world relatively cheaply, relatively quickly. The Lightning Network's being built out. But, I do see some potential upside with Ethereum. And I will also say I'm low-key an XRP hater, mostly because I feel like it's just so hyped up. And I feel like all the traders are like, XRP! And then I'm like, okay, why does XRP have tangible value? And no one has been able to answer that for me yet. And they say, oh, well, it's going to be able to make instant transactions amongst the banks. Okay, that's great. But what's to stop the bank from, if Wells Fargo wants to move 100,000 to JP Morgan, why wouldn't they just take that 100,000, convert to XRP, quickly make the transfer, and then JP Morgan gets it, immediately convert back to dollars? Why would they want to keep it in XRP? So how does the actual XRP token have true value? That's what I can't wrap my head around. So I feel like a lot of the other cryptocurrencies, such as Ethereum and XRP, have a lot of potential for the network and the blockchain, I should say, surrounding it, and the technology. But for the tokens themselves, I just don't know, right? And I could be wrong, and I want to be wrong about Ethereum. XRP, I could care less about, to be honest. I don't know. I just feel like, because also if you look at XRP, they spend so much money lobbying politicians to talk positively about it. So I don't know. But point being, Bitcoin's the only cryptocurrency I truly, absolutely 100% understand and 100% believe in. So for that reason, I personally buy in it. But it's also like if GameStop decides to go buy 500 million of Ethereum, I'm not going to sell and go, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. So be it. It would be part of their overall strategy. When I invest in the stock, I'm investing in the management team. So I'm going to see how it plays out. And then also, I would imagine it's part of like a broader strategy to invest in different assets, right? So it's still not clear what exactly GameStop's going to do with the capital, right, as of the time of this recording. But we do know, based on his conversation with Charles Payne, he also said, like, I think we have it right here in this clip. I can't remember exactly, but basically the future of GameStop probably has to do. I'll play it really quick and then we'll react to it.
We are in a position today where the retail business is profitable. Maybe the future value when you think about GameStop has more to do. Again, this is a guess, but it may have more to do with how we deploy our balance sheet than the cash that the retail operations will generate. But so, we are in a position today where the
Okay, we're back. Again, I don't know what is going on today. This does not want to cooperate. All right, then. But we are back. Hopefully all the audio sounds fine. Let's see. I think we'll have it in a second. Audio sounds fine. Let's see. Okay. All right. I don't know why this doesn't want to cooperate, but I realized I don't have my headphones on, so I didn't even hear what Ryan was saying. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I think they're going to utilize the balance sheet. That's the future of the company. Yes, they're going to do some stuff like the push to start arcade. However, I feel like the balance sheet's part of it. So whether that's more Bitcoin and Ethereum, just Bitcoin, other different things, it's all to be seen, right? It's all to be seen. We'll see in 3 to 4 years, exactly. It's like Bitcoin is gold, Bitcoin Cash is silver, Bitcoin Cash is the same as Bitcoin, but Bitcoin Cash is cheaper than Bitcoin fees and faster payments. Okay, well, good. That's fair. That's fair. I'll definitely have to look into it again. It's been quite a while since I read about Bitcoin Cash, to be honest with you. I think Ryan Cohen is more into buying stock of undervalued companies, like he alluded to the interview. Silver has much bigger supply. That's a fair point. But yeah, KCR, that is a great point right there. He did allude to it in the interview that they want to buy undervalued companies, and it's really important to him to not lose money. So he does seem like the type, right? And when I say him, I also mean like the board, where they're like, we would rather miss out on some opportunities that maybe they worked out great, but at the time it was uncertain, to be patient and really identify opportunities like we absolutely believe in. So it does kind of feel like, right? And this is where I'm talking about like realizing in real time. Like I'm saying a lot of different things. Like, oh, that's kind of contradictory to what you're saying before. But it's like I'm trying to formulate my opinion, and so I appreciate you guys in the comments because then I see your comments, and that makes me get different ideas, right? But I feel like they're kind of like my now thought is they're waiting until there's a recession, right? Or a large pullback where they see a fantastic buying opportunity. Because the reality of it is stock markets are all-time high. Bitcoin's flirting with the all-time high right now. Everything's at all-time highs. What good buying opportunity really is there out there? I'm not sure. So for the time being, like, all right, we'll focus within, right? And we'll work on push to start arcade. And let's see how that shakes out, right? I'm curious. And I feel like it's going to be something nostalgia-rated. Related, I should say. That's my gut feeling at least. So, by the way, afternoon espresso. Cheers. So good. Espresso is the best kind of coffee. But Bitcoin 119K, so he was just tweeting that. He's just trolling around, just doing Ryan Cohen type of things. But one thing I did want to touch on, I saw Nat Turner tweeted, now live at Best Buy, a new product in partnership with Ultra Point, INTL, gaming collectibles and product in the world. Official PSA card submission kit. Each kit comes with 4 grading credits and all the necessary supplies to encase and submit cards to PSA. It'd be nice to see GameStop launch this, honestly. Right? What about LCS? Does it make sense at Best Buy? No, it does, but just where we're starting. Okay, so this is why I go dig deep sometimes, right? Take mine to GameStop. That don't need this stuff, right? Shout out Aaron, great guy. But we're selling this at GameStop also. So yeah, so I'm not the only one thinking about it. Let's see what this person said. I mean, in theory, these wouldn't be needed at GameStop since you would just submit the cards through GameStop. This would be for people to self-submit. Gotcha. However, it would be another revenue stream. Might want to rely on GameStop as an intermediary, or may want to might not be close to a store on a regular basis, kind of like the register stock at a grocery store or Walmart. Or even make one that's personalized towards GameStop, where it's like you get credits you can use through your pro account to submit them, right? Something like that. I think that could be interesting, and I think it's an opportunity. And this was literally only 9 days ago, 9 days ago. So maybe it is something that's going to come to GameStop, and it's just starting at a Best Buy. But Nat Turner is on the board of GameStop, so it's like you kind of would want to see with GameStop first, maybe. But again, it's kind of like this person said, it's different than like someone who's submitting through GameStop, right? And generally, the average person I feel like who's submitting through GameStop, like myself, is more of a newbie collector. So that's kind of like the target audience, whereas for that particular product I was just showing, I'll go back to it, is more so targeted to me, in my eyes at least, targeted to more experienced collectors who are grading like on a more frequent basis. So just, again, food for thought here. But see, it's like a cat, pounce when the moment's right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. They did not change their investor relations page to the one like Berkshire Hathaway without a solid reason. Good point, KCR. That's a very good point. You're bringing up some great points today. I appreciate it. You're right. And what's Berkshire's mentality? We're going to wait and wait and wait. And then when the recession comes or a major dip comes or a great opportunity comes, then we'll go and acquire. And the fact they're able to raise money at a 0% interest rate is truly remarkable, right? Who would have thought 0% convertible notes? It's crazy. And I feel like they kind of realized, like, wait a minute. If we just buy some Bitcoin, so now I'm starting to think, I'm like, was that the only Bitcoin buy they're ever going to do? And then unless there's, again, like another major recession where just prices of everything comes down, Bitcoin gets cut in half, right? Kind of that area. If that's the case, then maybe they buy more Bitcoin, but maybe they're more so just kind of taking advantage of the fact that there's a lot of big money out there that's willing to buy 0% convertible notes, basically give the company the money just for having Bitcoin within the investor relations or as a relative part of the whole business, right? Because look at what Michael Saylor's done over and over and over, and now Mara's done it. I saw now analyst and common guest on CNBC, Tom Lee, I'm sure you guys have heard of him maybe, but he's investing in an Ethereum version of that, right? Where they're doing 0% convertible notes to continue to buy up Ethereum and basically become an Ethereum treasury, right? So, and then now we have these, like, it's a crypto week at the White House, and you got the Genius Act going through, and you got like rules surrounding stablecoins. So just so much is changing in real time with cryptocurrencies and just financial markets as a whole. But at the same time, just on the topic of Bitcoin, even outside of GameStop, and why I continue to buy Bitcoin no matter what on a consistent basis. I buy every single day, only a few bucks a day, but here and there too, I'll go in and buy 100, a couple hundred, buy a chunk, right? Because to me, no matter what's changing in the markets or what's happening, the United States of America continues to increase the money supply, which means your purchasing power just continues to go down, right? So that's just in general, and it's just a crazy time period we're living in, right? It's a crazy, crazy time period, and I feel like the next few years are just only going to be crazy, right? It's like every time in this world, you're like, okay, things are real crazy right now. Everything will calm down. Nope, it gets crazier, right? And this is an interesting website I have pulled up here. I'm not necessarily reading off it right now. Bitbo.io. A lot of different stats on Bitcoin, having to do with the Bitcoin treasuries. And also I thought I saw another, just crazy thing that came out recently. I saw someone said, I'll see if I can find it, USA Bitcoin. Let me see. It was like, oh, actually, we don't have as much Bitcoin as we thought. Let's see. America wants, yeah, so America, apparently, right, the U.S. appeared to have sold 85% of its Bitcoin. So I don't know how this happens, right? They had about 200,000 they had seized from criminal activity and various different things, right? But they had it. And then there was some investigation done that uncovered we actually only have in the United States 29,000. Where did that all of that go? Who sold it? How is there no news about that? How did that not come out? How is this just now being discovered after an investigation? Like, it just makes no sense. I just don't understand. So let me see. Maybe if I look up Bitcoin, but they're talking about also trying to pass that act where it's like America would buy 1 million Bitcoin per year over the next 5 years, right? And if that happens, that just means more bullish activity for Bitcoin because that's even more that the United States has to buy now because they don't have it. But let's see, 29,000. I'm trying to find something to search. America, 29,000. Bitcoin. Let's see if it comes up. Okay, only this guy's video, but Bitcoin. Let's see. Yeah, U.S. Marshal just revealed the USA now only holds 28,988 Bitcoin worth 3.4 billion instead of 200,000 Bitcoin. This is unbelievable. So, responding to your Freedom of Information Act request received by USMS on March 24th, the amount of Bitcoin held by the U.S. Marshal Service. So also, 4 months. It took them 4 months to come out and say this. I don't understand. Like, there's just so much with the government that makes no sense. It freaking drives me crazy. But responsive record in part, the agency reasonable foresees disclosure of interest and protected by exemption. Disclosure. But it doesn't even say it on this particular email, right? I think the full thing. The pages related to a portion of the agreement, but it's just crazy. It's just crazy. If the reports are indeed true, the U.S. only holds 29,000. The pressure to increase reserves will become enormous. So you know what that means? Higher. Theoretically, right? So people are taking it as like a bullish thing, but USA now holds 200K Bitcoin, which is 23.5 billion. So yeah, it's out of date, but it's just, how is this allegedly? It's just so hard, right? What I'm trying to say right now is like, it's so hard to know what's real and what's not in today's world, right? Granted, I am looking on Twitter right now, X, whatever you call it these days. I'll still always call it Twitter. I can't help it, honestly. Sorry, but it's just crazy. It's just a lot of craziness going on right now. And side note, also, this is like a great account I found. I just saw him. He replies to a lot of stuff. Endgame Macro at One Chance Freedom without the O. He has a lot of interesting insights. So is that his perspective, right, of the end game, so to speak, and he's a lot of just in-depth comments. So I feel like it was a good follow. If the major powers actually converge on a cooperative endgame, it wouldn't look like a binary U.S. versus BRICS collapse narrative. It'll look like a controlled fragmentation welded to interoperability. Think Bretton Woods 3, not in the name of an architecture, a multipolar reserve framework anchored to digitalized collateral and the dollar still functioning as the intermediary layer, the regulated stablecoins and strategic liquidity windows, swap lines, CBDC, central bank digital currency, very scary. Apparently that was banned as part of one of these acts, but we'll see. There's always a loophole, right? In this vision, China gets more room to settle trade and bond regularly. Europe scales its tokenized gold and green assets via the ECB's distributed ledger pilots, and the U.S. retains the pricing unit for commodities, debt, and global margin calls. Everyone gets a piece of monetary autonomy. None get the absolute dominance. That's how you avoid kinetic war. Underlying this is a sober realization baked into BIS and RAND reports alike that no nation, not even the U.S., can monopolize flows in an age of sovereign digitalization. Basically kind of more equivalent to the whole world, right? That's how I'm reading it. But the U.S. can still govern the clearing logic on who gets liquidity, when, and how. So U.S. still in power, right? That's what we care about in the U.S., or that's what the U.S. government cares about, right? So the final form is likely not a dethroning, but a dilution where the dollar loses exclusivity, not primacy, which I agree with. I think Bitcoin will coexist with the dollar as time goes on. Some people think, oh, it'll take over the dollar. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more about the store of value it provides, and it'll be like an alternative currency and ultimately one day considered to be a national currency. But I think that's something that happens like 20 years out. The digital dollar doesn't have to be competitors. It just has to be the path of least resistance for clearing global trade under stress. So this is like a huge topic right now. It's a lot of why BRICS is trying to form and kind of create their own. It's not even about creating their own currency, BRICS, from my understanding. BRICS is really focusing on global trade and being able to execute global trade without always using dollars, because using dollars is what gives America such dominance and gives the dollar dominance, and why we can always create it because it has so much constant demand from global trade. But BRICS is trying to say, no, no, no. Well, we don't need the dollar anymore. There's other ways we can do this, right? And we can't just let the U.S. control it. And that's also why Trump's now saying, like, any country who's part of BRICS, extra 10% tariff, right? Because he sees that it's part of kind of pushing back against the U.S., so to speak. It's a very complex situation, but that's like a general overview. If everyone plugs into that rail, even while holding local gold-backed tokens, digital rupees, or programmable euros, then the system survives with America, not in spite of it. So, this guy, again, a lot of interesting insights. You don't necessarily have to agree with that, but just thought it was something I thought was interesting, thought it was worth sharing. But I think I'm going to leave it there for today. That's all I really got, honestly. It's very warm in here. My mic doesn't want to cooperate. Not a whole lot's cooperating, but at the end of the day, you got to just do what's best for you. Never invest more than you can afford to lose in anything, whether it's GameStop, Bitcoin, Staplegate stapler, right? Whatever it may be. And just continue to better yourself. I call it, continue to sharpen the saw. That's how it was described to me before. So I continue to keep sharpening the saw, increasing my knowledge in the markets on Bitcoin, GameStop, and just some of my latest thoughts. I feel like a little bit all over the place today, so appreciate you tuning in. Come back stronger next time, come a little bit more detailed information, but overall, I mean, just want to look at GameStop's numbers real quick. I have it over here. They just get better, right? The net income goes up, the margins are getting better, SG&A continues to go down, right? And we know the net margin is only going to get stronger now because they raised even more capital, which means even more interest income. So, while they're not necessarily using this money right away that they have, they are accumulating just an absolute ton of money market interest or interest on really short-term bonds, maybe 1 month out, where they're just continuing to stack cash. And I think at a roughly, 4 or 5% rate right now. So that's where we're at. And I just realized I wasn't showing it, but this is what I was showing real quick. So, I got to stream more. I'm a little rusty today, but net income gets better. Margins are getting better. Net margin's only going to get stronger, right? As they sit on this cash for the time being. Yeah, it's not the greatest situation, as I'm talking about the dollar, like losing purchasing power, but it's also not an overnight thing. So it's like you don't want to go rush and waste the money. So as you can see, I have a lot of different thoughts right now, a lot of different ideas bouncing around in my head as of late around GameStop. But for me, I'll just keep holding. I sell some puts on the side, and then on occasion I exercise, I got to turn around and sell a call, so be it. That's something I keep completely separate from my long-term position of GameStop. I keep my shares completely separate from this options activity I've started doing over the past year. And to me, that's just a way of side income. And because I think GameStop, there's literally no probability of it going bankrupt anytime remotely soon unless they have a catastrophic misstep, which I just don't see how that's the case, especially when Ryan Cohen's talking about being very cautious. So I feel like it's honestly a great opportunity to sell puts, not so much as of late because implied volatility has really fallen off, but I've been selling puts, and then when I get exercised, like when they did the last convertible note offering, I got exercised in one of them, so I've been having to sell calls, and I sell them at that same strike. So be it. I'm doing the wheel strategy. And again, you're like, oh my gosh, Tetron's selling calls, that means he's bearish. No, I'm not doing that on my long-term position. This is on my active portfolio where I'm strictly just selling options, and that's just something I've chose to do. It's like a side income kind of situation where I want to try it out. I have excess capital now that I was able to build up, and I'm like, I want to try and do this as a side income opportunity for myself, and we'll see how it shakes out. So far, it's been pretty good. I was mostly selling puts. Right now, I've been actively selling like every couple weeks, like a call, like a $28 call, because I had a $28 put, got exercised, so now I own the 100 shares at $28 cost basis, and I'll go ahead and sell $28 calls. And when GameStop goes back above it, okay, yeah, I'll get exercised, and then I'll turn around and I'll start selling a $28 put again. And for me, it's really just profiting off of time decay, because that's when an option expires. Or when you buy an option, you're fighting against time. When you're selling an option, time's on your side. So that's where I'm at right now. But I'll continue to hold my shares for the long term. And again, that's completely separate from any kind of options activity that I'm doing, to be perfectly clear. So it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, he doesn't believe in GameStop because he's selling calls. No, it's just how my side strategy is working out. Something I'm doing completely on the side from GameStop. I have plenty of GameStop shares that I'm holding, and that's where I'm at. I just want to be as transparent as possible with you guys, and also do own other stocks. I just want that to be known. I own AMD. I've owned Palantir for a while. I haven't talked about them on this channel that much because they were relatively small positions for me, And also, as I continue to like GameStop's thing, I know the most, and I've talked about the most on here, so I've just kind of continued to talk about that. But those who've been around a while know I've touched on these things in the past, and the stock I do kind of wish I bought that I'd watched for a while was like SoFi. It's easy to say that now, right? Because it's just been doing so well, but it is what it is, right? You can't grab every opportunity. But if SoFi, we go into a recession, I feel like SoFi would easily cut in half, and then maybe there's a buying opportunity there for me, right? Maybe GameStop buys some shares. Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. Nobody truly knows until things shake out the way they do, right? But thanks for being here, KCR. Stay well. Thank you for being here. Montague, Silver, thank you for being here. Olga, Manuel, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care.